Alright, while we're waiting for people to come and trickle in, I just want to thank everyone who followed in the last couple of days, as we just hit 200 followers a few minutes ago, which is great news. So Strategy 3101, Lazy Icarus, Matchstick7886, Ankminra, all of whom stream followed after the end of the last stream. Thank you all very much. We are at 200 followers now already, which is huge. Hey Val, right now you are the only one here, but hopefully in the next few minutes some more people will show up. Apologies for that. I tapped out of the window and SNES auto pauses. Also, would notice that it's tanking a little bit on its end for no real reason. It was not having this much trouble 2 days ago, and I have changed nothing since, so hopefully it's going to still be okay, but if you hear any little bits of stuttering, that's just the game lagging. Okay, we're gonna get started in about 1 more minute here. Just gonna let the opening cinematic play again, and then we will get started into Chapter 1. In the meantime, I may as well introduce myself for anyone catching the VOD. My name is Adam. This is Ludo History. This is a show all about playing the Middle Ages. So representations of medieval history or ideas of medieval history present in both fantasy and historical video games. Right now, I am not on my usual schedule. I am still on vacation, but it's a quiet, rainy day, so perfect time to get a bonus stream in. So we're going to be continuing with Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War, and that's going to try and get through all of Chapter 1, and talk a little bit more about Irish and Norse folklore in it. Give me just a moment here to grab my books. And yeah, let's get going. So we are picking up with the Spirit Forest Maiden. We're going to watch this first cutscene, or first several cutscenes, and then I'm actually going to load a save state to save you all the arena grinding of FE4. Aideen is not there, instead already well within Verdane's borders. Verdane's territory is blanketed in a thick sweep of forest. This is gonna suck for us. Unfortunately, movement through forests is really bad. The nation is widely dubbed a barbarian kingdom by Granvale's people owing to their constant raids on Granvalian soil. However, the reign of King Batur has seen an end to Verdane's infamous border raids. A pacifist, King Batur has long worked to build a lasting peace with Granvale, while also keeping his aggressive sons in check. So, the idea of a barbarian kingdom here is kind of interesting. The immediate, I think, reference point a lot of people will draw with that is reference to the Vikings and to Norse invaders, though I think also there's reason to draw parallels, of course, to the origins of the term being a Greek term for non-Greek people, but then also the Vandals and Gothic migrations of the 4th and 5th centuries. So, this is a little bit reinforced by the names, but it's not really consistent. Batar, like Jamka, I mentioned Jamka in the last stream, is actually a Mongolian name. Batur is also Mongolian in origin, probably referring to where Jamka is a rival of Genghis Khan. Batur, or Batu, was one of his grandsons. But the other names there, Kinbaith and Gandalf, are Irish and Norse respectively. Kinbaith is a legendary king of Ireland, but one that is kind of that didn't really do a lot except rule, and his wife wound up being more important. But Gandalf is Gandalfur. Yeah, so kind of the point of that is that they are... Shozo Kaga, when designing this game, is pulling names from all over the place. There's not a whole lot of consistency in a geographic region has names from a real-world geographic location. I actually like this. This, I think, is better than if you're trying to create this analog, especially when that analog is of the Barbarian Kingdom and everyone has Mongolian names. That's a little bit oof. But now we have Eldigan. This is Sigurd's other university friend. Along with Quan, Eldigan, and Sigurd are kind of the three amigos here. They all went to school in Valhalla, and then they are now trying to sort things out, because Eldian is the king of of Nordian, a subservient kingdom within Augustria. He's on the border of the kingdoms, and so he's wondering what the hell Sigurd's doing. Eldigan's a good guy. He is the wielder of the demon sword Misteltein, and the descendant of the crusader Hezul. He's actually really beefy, and we'll see him in the next chapter. But yeah, we'll talk more about Hezul and all that then. Here we have Kinlaith and Eira. Eira is, I think, a fan favorite for a lot of people in this game. With some reason. She's actually really fun to play as, though not a super good unit. But yeah, her name is, as far as I can see, not a reference to any particular folktale. It's most likely a bad transliteration of the, Sorry, just checking drop frames here. I'm dropping a lot of frames here, which is no good. So let me know if this gets too bad to actually watch. I can't see it a whole lot on my end, I'm just seeing the frame drops here. Anyway, Eira seems to be a bad transliteration of the Latin word ira, or wrath, which makes some sense given her personality. It does inform her bellicosity, but is generally not a reference to any particular folktale. Shannon is the Prince of Isaac, and his name is a very common one in Irish folklore. Shannon is all over the place. There's hard to see that there's any particular reference going on here, but There are several that it could be. And here's why Ira's name Ira makes sense. Now, we'll see Ira in a little bit here out on the field. And now we have a whole bunch of axe wielders, which is not great for our army of lances and sword cavaliers. Sigurd is going to keep doing a lot of work in this chapter, unsurprisingly. Anyway, now we get to the fun part of FE4. The castle management. I did all of this off screen, so I'm going to load a save state in a little while, but I want to show you guys through it while we're going and talk about a little bit about what's going on here. So here we have a blacksmith. This is how you can get 50 kills on a weapon without actually, while only having 50 uses on the weapon. You can repair them at any time for a fee. So this is not really how that works. Repairing weapons that were damaged is not all that easy in the Middle Ages. To a large part, you can kind of make it work with just trying to grind out any chips, but that does take away material away from the blade. So, doing that too many times causes some issues. They are way harder to repair, and the more you repair them, the less long it's going to last. Once a weapon breaks, obviously, the only way to reforge that is to actually take the metal as just scrap material and to fold it back together. That's not what happens here. Even if a divine weapon breaks, these blacksmiths are absolute heroes. I can just make it work. No big deal. Additionally, here we have a pawnbroker. This is the only way to trade weapons around in FE4. You cannot trade. You have to sell your weapon and then someone else can buy it. Supply lets each person store extra things they don't need, but that's it. They do not get to hand them around within the supply. The armory here is each chapter has a certain number of things that they can actually buy, while in the your items. But you just see what you've got. All the things, including those in supply. The augury lets you pay attention to what's going on here. Sigurd's pretty good. And yeah, this also is the only way to hint at the pairing system in this game, because you can romance all of your units together. I still have not figured out the romance options. I'm probably going to go Aideen Midir for the folkloric canon, but still not entirely decided. Having an augur is far more of a Roman thing than a medieval one. Obviously, divination is hugely important, but the methods of doing so were quite different. The last one here is also a very Roman thing in the arena. I'm going to go through with Sigurd here, and then I'm going to load the save. But just kind of show you guys what each area looks like and who all the people are here. Most of the names in this are just made up names, as far as I can tell. I've not seen any particular references in them, but I also haven't looked that hard. So if anyone notices anything, do feel free to throw it out in chat and we can talk about it. Sigurd completely trashes this because he has pursuit and he is incredibly good. in all the grinding I did off screen, the only one who got good levels was Sigurd, and he got really good levels. He wound up getting like 3 HP and like 2 defense and more strength and speed, which is amazing given that everyone else only got defense. So we have Weissman here, obviously a German name for literally just white man. As far as I can tell, just like a reasonably common name, not hugely common, but also not a whole lot special going on here. And yeah, unlike in other Fire Emblem games, if you've seen those, using the arena does not cost you gold. Additionally, losing in the arena does not get you killed. It leaves you at 1 HP, and you can keep doing it as many times as you want. Winning each time gives you a little bit more gold, and you cap out at quite a bit here. So yeah, Bacchus, okay, this one very much is a reference, but obviously stealing a Greek divine name or the Latin name for Dionysus, I should say. And so I think we can safely conclude that this one is not a actual reference, but stealing the name because it sounds cool, which is something a lot of JRPGs do, and something that I very much do not blame Kaga for at all. Emile is kind of in the same boat, that's a French name. Pretty generic. Oh, Sigurd's gonna lose probably. Nice, Sigurd lost, so that's a little bit awkward. We're not gonna worry about that though, because we are just gonna load a save state, or load our game position here to the ending of all the arenas, so I'll show you guys where everyone got to in the arena. Sigurd cleared it, Noish got to level 6, Alec got to 4, Arden got to level 3, Azelle and Lex both got to level 4, as did Finn. Medea got all the way up to 6 somehow, while Quan only managed to rank 5. So my Medea did unusually well. Luckily, we can do the arena at any castle in the game, so once our guys get a little bit more stats through clearing out this first army, we'll be able to do it again. We also have a talk conversation here with Quan and Finn, so we'll want to make sure to do that soon. That being said, I've got a bunch of people who are at 1 HP because they lost in the arena. So we're going to need to be pretty careful here as we're going in to not put them in range. Let's take a look at the map here. So we've got here one of Eldigan's knights from Nordian, and we can see Nordian up here, and then there's other castles farther up. This is where the next chapter is going to take place. We'll be based in Evans again, and then we're going to head up into Augustria, which is going to be a little bit unfortunate, but we'll deal with that later. First, we've got to put down all of these axe wielders from Verdun. So we've got Kinbait here. He drops a hand axe, which is fun. And past that, he's not really very scary. He has no holy blood whatsoever, because Verdun, in the lore of the game, is one of only 2 countries alongside Militos that does not have a crusader as one of its founders. Now, that means no one can use any holy weapons, and they're really not that scary at the end of the day. Oh, thank you for the follow there, Fluke LKZ. So we have then just a whole bunch of really weak guys with axes. Axes are always scary because they have, as an iron axe has the same amount of damage as a silver sword. So Luckily, they weigh so much we're never going to do things. We're never going to need to worry about this too much. Which is good for us. And again, I want to apologize if the stream is laggy or otherwise dropping frames. I can see that on my end, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it, just because of the internet I have right now. So we'll deal with that as we can, and try and make do. So we've got here, this guy's going to go for the village and try to burn it down, and then these guys come up and try and take us on. I'm going to need to be careful to try and get everyone healed up before things go badly, so let's get started on that. I don't want to push up too aggressively, even though everyone except Azelle is actually on a horse, so it doesn't super matter, but I don't want to get too close and get into the aggro range of all those guys. And yeah, heals are not so great here, but that's alright. I can heal inside the castle if I need to, or I can probably cut through out to this church to heal up too. So, Juan here is going to give him some help. Finn gets some stat boosts off of this, which is actually really good for him, given that his level in the arena was not very good. But now his stats are actually pretty good. He's also later on going to get the Brave Lance, which is going to kind of carry him through a lot of the game. Meanwhile, everyone else keeps moving out. And yeah, let's talk a bit about Verdane here and the quote-unquote Spirit Forest. The idea of a folkloric forest of spirits is really common across Europe. It's probably one of the foundational beliefs or folkloric tropes that exists. Forests in general were seen as very much wild places. In the Middle Ages, or by around the year 1000, across most of Europe there was substantial deforestation due to human activity, and in many places that started much, much earlier. We have laws as from the 1000s, 1100s in there, all indicating that forests were seen as something that needed to be carefully managed, otherwise they would run out. So actually, in some places in Europe today, there are far more forests than there were in the Middle Ages. Not everywhere, and the forests that there are much more tamed, I would say. But it is still very much the case that forests have increased due to recent reforestation efforts. But still, that meant in popular conscience that the forest was a place where all sorts of weird things could happen. In romance, there's this very consistent trope that going into a forest marks the beginning of the adventure. So, to quote an Icelandic one, because that's what I have the most familiarity with, in Victor's Saga of Glaubus, there is, oh boy, an understanding that by going through the forest, Victor ends up getting into all sorts of adventures. That's the end of the home world, the beginning of the other world, is by going there and going into this other, going through the forest into this other world. All sorts of weird things can happen there. In Victor Saga Levels, he gets to the edge of the forest, is very tired and stops, eats lunch, walks through this grassland that emerges, is more tired, so goes to rest, and then sees someone on a horse, which is on a flying carpet, flying over the field. It is an amazing bit of fun times to kind of read that and go like, yeah, in the field that we just mentioned, there's a flying carpet, and on the flying carpet is a horse, and on the horse is a person. And that person is Blavos, who was supposed to be a prince of India, but otherwise acts exactly like a Scandinavian noble landlord. So, yeah. We have here Aideen and Jamka. Jamka is trying to escape, or help Aideen escape. I do want to note that Jamka has that dot in the center of the forehead, and is wearing a bandana, and generally has a very, well, non-European look, I would say. It's kind of generically Mid-Eastern to South Asian. It's not drawing, I think, particular intentional reference to any of those places, but I would say like Persian-ish influence. Though again, he doesn't actually act like it. It's just a visual aesthetic for, I guess, differentiating him from the Granvalians, just like people from Isaac, namely Aira and Shannon, both have that very, very dark hair, which no one else in our army has. Yep. And Jamka is going to try and help us out by persuading Bator to just stop. That's not going to go so well for him. And here we have Dew. He's our thief. This is not, I think, a reference to anything. Well, he says that, but really he's just changing his thieving ways to benefit me. Because there's a few things that are going to be very happily possible things to do. Because in this game, everyone's money is independent. It is the only two ways where you can get one person to give money to another person is if the two people are married, or if the person giving the money is a thief. So that means he's actually able to just go in and do a whole lot of stealing of everyone's money and pass it around to our army to help make sure we can hand around the rings we need to later. But there's a lot of people chasing down Dew and Aideen. Aideen here is finally a playable unit. She has the much better heal staff of Mend. And she's going to be able to talk to Ethlyn to get the return staff. We just have to keep her alive all the way until then. She can only heal, she has no combat abilities whatsoever, but she does have minor Uller Holy Blood. As I mentioned in the last stream, I believe, Uller is the Norse god of skiing and archery, so it makes some sense that he's got the bow, a divine bow associated with his name. Historically, Uller is a very mysterious god. He's said to be a stepson of Thor by the 13th century with Snorri Sturluson's Gylfaginning. However, he's very likely older and more prominent than that, and his role changed over time. What that role was in the past is really unknown. We just don't have that information. He kind of just stopped. Uller and Skavi are unrelated to each other in the myths, but they do fill a very similar niche of wild space hunting deity. So, They fill a very similar niche, but I don't, as far as I can remember, they're not actually related to each other in the mythology. And now, Ullr's divine weapon, which we'll get later, is called Ufel. This is actually a really bad translation of the Norse name Idalir. Idalir is Ullr's hall, according to the Prose Edda, but the Y in that, the first letter, is the Norse word for you, and then Dale gets transliterated badly to Fell. So it becomes, so you have you, Fell. It's interesting. Dale here has some handy skills. He has Soul, which is completely useless because he has no attack power by which to heal. Bargain, which means shops cost him 50% less, which means he is just free money for everyone else. And if he hits someone, he will steal all the money they have on. This is sometimes quite a lot of money. But he has no holy blood to speak of, so he's just going to kind of hang out. The main reason why we may want to keep him around is in order to pass down Bargain to people, because that's free paradigm rings later in the game. But we may not end up having him at all, or do. So, we've got a small problem here though. Namely that there's a lot of bad guys right on our heels. And we have a very long ways to go to meet up with the rest of our army. So we are going to have them run away, and chat, do not let me forget to move these. I've done that on more playthroughs than I care to mention, that I just forget to move them, and it gets me in trouble. Yeah, we are really badly outnumbered right now. But, if I put Dew 3 spaces away, I want him to get attacked by some things, because, if we get into trouble, Dew can always kind of escape. Dew can get healed by Ideen, so I want him to be stealing these guys' money if we can get away with it. In the meantime, look, 17 attack, Finn has 19 HP, and currently 9 defense. Okay, well, so that's no good. I think we'll heal Midir and then try and get this guy on the way. Yeah. Because Midir got defense in the arena, which means it's actually going to be perfectly fine. Hopefully. I wish Athlon could heal more, but such is life. And we're going to trust in Sigurd's leadership stars to kind of help us out here. Let's see, we can have Alec kind of push through the woods here to try and get to the arena. Oh yeah, I should mention, I traded, or did some item swapping, so Alec has Noisha's Steel Sword, because Noisha is stronger but cannot double, so Steel and Iron Swords weigh exactly the same amount. So what we're able to do with that is we're able to just trade the better weapon to Alec, who needs it, and then Noish can use Lancers or Swords, since he's not doubling anyway. It doesn't matter. We can abuse his higher strength to do the same amount of damage. I'm hoping to get Lex some levels here as well, because he needs them. If I can get him up to level 20 in this chapter, I would like that. In this game, the level cap is 30, and you can promote starting at level 20. So that gives me a lot of ability to kind of make sure I keep doing things, well. I still have a whole bunch of people at 1 HP, which means next turn is going to be really interesting. Move them. Move them. Oh yeah, Aira. Aira has Pursuit, Nihil, and Astra as skills, so she's terrifying. No matter who I send her against, there's a real chance that she will just kill them, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. So one option is to kind of throw her against Arden or something, someone who really doesn't care that much that he's getting doubled, and we just need to not kill her until after we capture after we kill Kinbei and after we capture Genoa. So yeah, hopefully we can do that. We're going to leave Sigurd there for this turn, keep our options open, and let's see how this goes. So we've got Genoa coming up first. Oh, hey, they're trying to stay in formation. This is not the best news for me, because formations end up just being slow. But Madeira is actually pretty good. Though if he had activated Adept, he would have died. Or, no, he would have died. He would have just come close. And all these people came up in formation. From a gameplay perspective, it's really annoying that these guys don't just run all the time. As far as they can. But from a design perspective, it actually makes a whole lot of sense. Woohoo! You can see Du is a great unit. So yeah, we are going to... formations make a lot of sense from a design perspective in trying to make this feel correctly medieval. Because in the Middle Ages, battles were not chaotic events. I mean, they were in the moment, but by and large, the battles were incredibly focused on formations. I do need to move Du as far as I can. Yeah, Du is absolutely the army's bank. The main thing I need to do is avoid his funds getting too high, so that I can, when I'm actually handing things around, I'm not just overloading one guy with everyone's army. Because the other thing that happens in this game is that when you give someone money, you give someone all of your money. There is no such thing as restraint. So the person giving the money, unless if the person receiving money literally caps, the person giving the money ends up... Yep. The person giving the money ends up losing all of their money. They'll go to 0 unless if the person receiving the money caps out at 50,000 gold before they finish tallying it down. It's actually really quite annoying. But, yeah, I was talking about battles. In battles, it very much is you stand in a line and you stare at each other, and then you maybe do something, and then you stand in a line some more. Okay, so I think I know the plan here. Noish is the sword equipped, Sigurd also has the sword equipped, so we're going to move Noish over here, we're going to move Sigurd down, Lex is going to stay where he is, And Finn is going to stay where he is as well. But I do need to make sure I equip the Iron Lance so he's not weighed down too badly. Azel's gonna be fine. Flex should be fine. And next turn I'll heal up Quan and we should be able to break these guys. But yeah, in battles you very much did just stay information, and the important thing was to not end up just rushing the enemy. That's what these guys are all about to do. Anyone who can't reach is going to stay in their formation, and anyone who can reach an enemy is going to charge. This is why we're able to beat these guys as well as we will be able to. Oh boy, that's bad. So we may actually have to reset this turn, because Noish may get killed by Kinbei. If not, Sigurd should be able to kill him, no big deal, and then we'll just sell off the hand axe to give it to Lex later. If I can get Lex the kill, that would also be really good. But yeah, breaking formation and going in on a charge is the worst thing you can do, because the person who gets charged into gets all the advantages then. Oh, did I remember to move Aideen? And yes, I did. We're good. Okay. Noish got charged. That's fun. So yeah, he just kind of these guys all charge in, and you can see, since I'm in formation, they end up completely surrounded, which is bad news for them, but really good news for me. And yeah, these guys who can't reach just kind of walk forward and end up getting separated. This is kind of the default strategy of the Middle Ages. Famously, the Battle of Hastings was won for pretty much exactly this reason. Oh yeah, I am nervous, because if it weren't for all these guys filling in the gaps, Kinbei would have absolutely trashed Noish. As it is now, I have a lot of things to deal with, because these are more units that I can take out in a turn, and my guys are not very bulky. And we have more enemy phases. Enemy phases take so long in this game. Oh boy. That's scary. I love that one RN getting absolutely dunked on for no obvious reason. Luckily, that was the only one who could reach, and dude's just gonna run the fuck away. Okay, these guys he's gonna keep burning down the village. Hopefully I can both rescue the village and get through there, to steal all of his money, but I'm not gonna count on that, because these guys have 5,000 gold, where most everyone else, I mean, Kinbei only has 3,000, so this guy is wealthier than the literal prince of the country. Well balanced game. But dude's almost dead, so we need to back off. Should see how far Aideen can move. Okay, we're good. Then we're going to get into the woods next turn, and should be able to use that to help kind of shield our escape. But yeah, we now are in a really tight situation. I need to kill as many of them as I can, especially Kinbei if I can, because I believe Kinbei has authority scars, which is improving everyone else's hit rates. Yeah, he's got 2 authority stars, which is actually the same number that Sigurd has, so we need to, if we can take him out, that will help us a lot. We've got some very weak people here, so we can actually use our low health units to take these guys on without needing to worry too much. And yeah, to Headness, this is really very stressful. I'm quite convinced I'm going to need to reset at some point, just because I did not heal everyone up enough. And Alec is going to go here, even though I actually kind of need him in the battle. But that's okay. Sigurd can reach here already. So the Silver Sword, 31 minus 13 is... this is not a kill. When this gets close, well, it does like half of his HP, which is not bad, but not good enough. And it's a great decision. Like, I'll never dispute that. I think I need to pull back, actually. That's annoying. I don't want to pull back, but I think I don't have a choice. If I can bait out Kinbei, I'll build the wall right in front of... no, I have to build him 2 in front of Madeir, otherwise he dies. So I'll build the wall here, and hopefully everyone's going to be able to tank that. So first things first, get as many kills as we can before we back off. Iron Axe, Hand Axe, Iron Axe. Okay, shame. I was hoping for a lucky crit, that would have saved me a lot of grief. But we failed, so we'll get him next time. Arden's just gonna run away, because he's bulky, he has currently 1 HP, and that's shockingly not enough to actually do anything. Oh yeah, these guys not being faceless is just one of my favorite... one of the reasons I love this game so much. And why I never liked Advance Wars as much as I like Fire Emblem. I mean, partly it's that the medieval aesthetic does a lot more for me than anything about the modern-ish aesthetic of Advance Wars. And even why something like Valkyria Chronicles is not as enjoyable to me as good old-fashioned Fire Emblem is. But we're falling back, and then we'll try and charge next time. But yeah, so kind of what we're doing here is actually a little bit, not fully, but a little bit executing a... Lex got magic, how weird. Executing an actual medieval strategy that I think most famously won the Battle of Hastings, which was the plot I was trying to get to earlier and then did not. At the Battle of Hastings, the French forces, or the Norman forces, wound up winning the day, largely due to something called a feigned retreat. So they pretended to run away, after the cavalry was running alongside these infantry blocks. They pretended to run away, and eventually, partly due to the Saxon army being, or the Anglo-Saxon army being quite in a rough situation. This is probably bad. We'll see how this goes. I'm not confident in that turn at all. We may end up losing Quan, which would be a very bad outcome. But he went for Finn instead. He's gonna suicide. We'll see if Finn ends up in miracle range eventually. I hope he does, because that's one of the only ways we're gonna survive this, is some lucky miracle strats. He went for Quan. Hopefully someone else can go for Quan, and that will mean Kinbei has to go for someone else. But I'm not sure. I don't know if we can fill in all of these spaces. Alternatively, we get insanely lucky. As long as Finn doesn't kill here, I think we're actually okay. Finn leaves him at 2 HP. I think we make it through this turn. Maybe. Still not 100% on that. Nope, crap. Kinbaith is gonna go for Quan, and Quan is not that bulky for how much pain Kinbaith brings. Oh, never mind. The other guy went first, and we are good. We survived this turn. Because I think Kinbaith goes for... Okay, he had Axe's Lex, but that's not a big deal. Cool. Now we can finally take this on. So, yeah, we feigned a retreat, and so, like the Anglo-Saxon forces, they're following us right in, and we're able to turn around and end up completely dealing with everyone. Because in the Middle Ages, cavalry is not nearly as broken as how cavalry is in this game. Cavalry is certainly very important, and in fact is one of the driving standards for proper conduct. Is very much based on chivalric behavior. It's derived from a French word for cavalry, so that should kind of indicate just how important they were. However, that does not follow that they were overpowered by any measure. They're good. Cavalry was very important and very good, but not at all oppressively powerful through most of the Middle Ages. Infantry was the core of the army, and the good infantry line would pretty much always beat a cavalry line, which is probably somewhat surprising. Let's see, -2, -1. Okay. But even in the early Middle Ages, in Frankish times, and in early medieval England, I do try and avoid... Yeah, I mean, it does have more targets to hit, Tightheadness, but let me get my thoughts in order though. A cavalry charge does, against a disciplined infantry force, largely ends up being ineffective. Horses do not like blindly charging into enemies, as it turns out, so they are kind of limited in their ability to just go in and completely trample over an organized defense. Awesome. Sigurd is so good. And we'll actually have him back up. And we'll see if Lex can get this kill. Let's see, 26, 13. Nope, that is 1 damage short of a kill. Good times. Who else can get a kill then? Quan? Quan gets a kill. But yeah, the main impact of a cavalry brigade is largely psychological. Certainly, it can be really powerful, and once the line breaks, then cavalry is ridiculously good. But against an organized, disciplined shield wall, it runs into the problem where it's just really hard to actually end up doing much meaningful much that's meaningful in terms of breaking down these the infantry line. But being charged by a horse is terrifying, unsurprisingly. And so the main impact was just that you end up scaring them all. And scaring them all is really powerful. Lex isn't on Forest, so that doesn't help me Okay. I want to kind of shield Lex from as much of the incoming fire as I can, because while he's got a lot of defense, he does not have very much HP, and enough hand axes will kill him. But yeah, so the main point of a charge is to end up intimidating and scaring the enemies into breaking and starting to run away, and then cavalry can do work. If that line holds, it's not effective. This is what happened at Hastings on the first charge of the day. The English forces were on top of a hill, so they had the high ground, let the means commence, and they were very much able to withstand the first charge. And so William's forces wound up having to just run alongside out of reach of the just out of reach of the shield wall, and hope that it was enough to we'll just have him go in and heal that way. He just had to hope it was enough to end up persuading them to break and then run away. Or better, to just, come on, let me hit. I just want to, I'm so close, just let me get a little bit closer and I'll hit them, and then they'll die and then we'll win. And to try and persuade them to get out of that formation. Because formations are incredibly difficult to break. You can actually see it in this game in the balance pretty well. None of my units can take on all of these guys. Even Sigurd is gonna, well, Sigurd may be able to, but Sigurd's very much larger than life. But anyone else is not actually able to take on that kind of pain. Ah, crap. Hopefully these guys don't move. I don't think they do, but, we are not close. But yeah, it's only if we can bait people out to leave that formation that they become easy pickings for my army. So, a nice little case where the mechanics of the game, even though it's fairly straightforward tactical gameplay, end up exactly mirroring historical concerns and historical designs of warfare. It's really kinda cool. In the meantime, we seem to be fine. Though it took a while. Finn, you didn't have to get hit by that. Now we need to push forward as fast as we can. Good job, that one. In order to try and get to the rest of the castle before anything goes wrong for Aideen and Stu. Oh no! Oh no! Ah! We are in a lot of trouble now. What? How could he reach? Oh god. This is so stressful. I am in a very bad way. Hopefully, Aideen has enough move to get forward into the hopefully she can get into the woods where they'll have about 10% hit rate on her. No, stop it. Aira will just murder my guys. So this is about the worst possible outcome. So we're going to see if we can pull it. I saved over that. I'm going to have to reset a couple of turns if this does not, if I do not get very lucky very fast. So yeah, this is a very bad situation. I was hoping to try and bait Aira up, and then Sigurd can just run around. But I moved Ideen too close, and here we are. Cool. Can you get to that? Yes. So we're just gonna kind of hope and pray. Also, we can give all of that gold to Ideen. Not that it super matters, but meh, it's experience for due. He now has 0, and Ideen now has 23,000. And Goth Chips Senpai, yes, I have played this game through in its entirety twice before. I very much don't like doing blind playthroughs as part of this channel, though I will probably do some in the future, just because I can't quite prepare everything. I have neither the time nor energy to be doing that all the time. But as much as possible, I'm going to try and prepare ahead of time some talking points, so that I'm making sure that my impressions are accurate and actually say something useful to all of you guys. Hopefully I think I can reach that. Yeah, good. Okay. Now let's see if Ethelyn gets a level. In the arena, she got a completely empty level, which sucked. Wow, she's not turning out good as a mage, but she's got really sick strength. Oh, this is the one with the Game of Thrones kind of plot. You have that exactly right. We'll get that in not very long. But unlike Game of Thrones, I should say, or I should say, unlike later Game of Thrones, this is largely a historically plausible situation, if a little bit overblown, and certainly it's one that medieval audiences would have recognized and appreciated. I think maybe I have Sigurd murder this guy, get more kills on the Silver Sword. Because unlike Game of Thrones, is kind of representative of a backlash against fantasy, in my opinion. In that it is largely trying to go, hey, everything's awful, everyone's evil, there is not room in the world to be a good person. This game halfway agrees, but also asks in a way that Game of Thrones doesn't ever care to, is it worth being a good heroic person anyway? Even if it comes to a bad end and everyone around you is awful, is there still value in holding to your oath of fealty? Holding to all of your plans to... We'll have him guarded, I guess. Is there reason to maintain your fealty, maintain the oaths that you swore, and to try and help people out? The game materially rewards you for helping out these guys, and rewards it with new units for helping out Aira by defeating the commander here, and then later with Hannibal rewards you for going way out of your way to help him rescue his adopted son. And so I think, while there's definitely limits to that... Oh gosh, I'm still in bed. That's fair. I stand corrected, Goth Chips. Game of Thrones has a Fire Emblem Seisen okay for the story. Though they released in the same year, so it was only a couple months difference. I believe they're both 1996 for the release. Okay, so we're doing better than oh gosh, here we are. Aira is going to kill. She missed. Oh my god. I am so scared. I am so very scared. There is no way to get Aideen out of Aira's range. And Aira absolutely... Oh, that's why. She's got a heavy weapon. She still has 11 speed. Which means she will double... She will double... Oh, there is one way to get her out of range. Okay. This is kind of spooky. We are making it up as we go. But I believe this is the only way we survive. Gosh, Aideen's gonna have to eat so many hits. Okay. I have no idea how we're making it through this. I may have made this unwinnable for myself in the end. But we're gonna keep trying, because it keeps kind of working. There. Oh, Myrmidon's, the name Myrmidon, Gothjeff Senpai, is a name in the Iliad for the followers of Achilles. So, they are the cream of the crop of Greek military elites. Okay, I think my best bet here is to hope that Aira continues to go for a Do and Aideen, and that gives Sigurd a chance to take out this commander so he can recruit. Yep, and that's kind of the point of the show. A whole bunch of the more you knows. Nice shot, Miguel. And thank you for the follow. I appreciate that a lot. And we are now at over 200 followers, which is really nice. Additionally, this stream should be the last one in order to get us to affiliate, which means next time subscriptions should open up, which is going to be awesome. Yeah! Goodness, that's exactly right. They do borrow names from all over the place. I mean, Latin origin, but spelled badly. Italian. Greek-ish. Irish/Old English. Also Irish. Still Irish. More Irish. Norse. I wish it was Irish, but it's currently Greek, because it's also Alexander. Irish. Nothing. Irish. Spelled badly. Marfa, I actually don't know. And then Verdane is Spanish-y. So yeah, it is very much all over the place. But yeah, the argument I made last stream, and it's one I very much stand by, is that unlike a lot of JRPGs that just take the name as they feel like it's fine, this game in particular really has very careful use of its name some of the time. Sometimes it is extremely careful with how it uses these names, and ends up actually referencing the actual folklore as needed in order for the whole thing to function. Yeah, I'm making sure that if I'm using the names, I say so badly that is definitely a comment on the Project Naga team more than on the Japaneseization. But I am making sure when I'm saying that something is of origin in a certain place, that I am actually saying that with reference to the Japanese names and making sure that it's all getting translated through correctly. So, like Madir and Aideen is spelled wrong, but it's one I talked about last stream, but I'll run through it again here. Aideen is Etain, which is a common Irish name, but the most famous one is the mythological wife twice of the Fey Lord Madir. And that's a wild story. Yeah. Aira, please. I stole all of Aira's money. I'll need to give that back in a moment. Oh no. Do good. Do is definitely the best unit here. But yeah, that story is wild, because some of the things that happen in that is that, Etain, after getting married, to Madir, it turns out Madir is already married, and his first wife does not take kindly to this idea. And so takes the perfectly reasonable step of turning Etain into a gigantic fly. Well, a puddle of water, then a worm, and then a fly, but who's keeping track? This fly gets blown around for 7 years, and then apparently in that time shrinks, because falls into a cup of a wife of a human warrior, and then the said warrior's wife gets pregnant, gives birth to a girl who she names Etain, and is said to be every bit as fair as the previous incarnation of herself. Depends on if you're going for canon pairings or not, Gothrops. In the Irish, it's a long E with an accent, T-A-I-N, but it's not so important. Okay, where can we get to that Aira can't? That's kind of every bit of the question is, where do we get to that... shit. Unfortunately, there is nowhere I can get to that Aideen can get to that Aira can't. So I may be resetting the past several turns, because Aideen is absolutely the most tempting target for Aira. So we're gonna hope we get lucky, and then I don't know. Yeah, Aideen Madir, I mean, not an amazing pairing, but also not a bad pairing. Okay. Now. Let's see if there's absolutely anything I can do here. That crit helps, but we're still in trouble. I may end up having to reset most of this chapter, which is really unfortunate. It will definitely keep me from getting into chapter 2, but such is the way of the game. And hopefully Sigurd gets lucky here and does not get hit by anyone, because he's going to have to take on the boss as soon as possible. Such a good level, though. Yeah, luckily everyone still is in the forest, so there's at least some hope. So that does 11. So 11 and 11. Ugh, that's not a good situation to be in. I don't trust this. Yeah, I do not trust that at all, so we're gonna just have to have Finn not do that. Well, no, I can't have him go in. He will die if I do that. I think even Kuin is in trouble here if I am not careful. Yeah, I mean, I like Aideen Midir for because it ends up making some of them. It makes some of them pretty good, but at the same time, it doesn't make anyone great. Good. I mean, this is also one of my favorite games in existence. Very, very happy. Myth and Legends, hi. Unfortunately, I may be about to have to reset because Aira is terrifying and can attack my healer. So we may be about to see a reset unless I can get extremely lucky. Golf trips. I don't actually remember, so maybe you can tell me. Am I able to seize the castle without deleting? I'm able to seize the castle without deleting Aira from the game. Yeah. Kuin might also be in trouble, unless we get to base level. Okay, good to remember. Because I remember with Hannibal, you can't seize his castle without him just getting deleted. Which would be bad. Aira's a good unit, and I like her Brave Sword more than I like her. So... Wow. What a terrible level, Nosh. That's alright. If we're going for... It's better than Ethlyn's empty level. A goddamn Holy Blood user got an empty level in the arena. I was not happy with Ethlyn. Well, Finn gets a good level, though. Jesus, could people stop getting hit? But luckily, if Aideen survives this hit, we are good. We will be fine because Midir can kind of infinitely tank Aira in the forest without too much hassle. So, as long as we survive what is about to happen, then we should be good to just completely continue. Okay, good. I'm glad Sigurd didn't kill this guy too. Because hopefully that means like Kuin or something can deal with it. She went for Do. Why? Why did she go for Do? I am confused but grateful. Oh yeah, Sigurd is an absolute unit in this. Hey, this was the commander. That's 45 HP. His stats are still pretty based. especially his defense. Like, I don't think I've ever had a Sigurd at this point with that much defense. Absolute unit. And yeah, he is very much, very much living up to his namesake. And is just mowing through enemies. Pretty much every story the Norse hero Sigurd appears in, he completely decimates every battlefield he's on, which is cool. Like in Norna Gestalter, I believe, the title character Norna Gester is talking to Olafur Tryggvason of Norway, and basically says that, hey, look, I wish I could get you to do anything else. This island actually does have a giant in it, kind of. If you count Starkather as a giant, then he does have a giant. This one does, otherwise it doesn't. Okay, we're just gonna leave you there, because there's not a whole lot of point in putzing around. Azil can get a kill. He hasn't gotten one of those in a while. But in this story, Nornagast Esther is telling his 300-year life history to Olafur Tryggvason of Norway, who is one of the two missionary kings. Ruled from 991 to 1000, and is largely credited with mixed amounts of fairness, but is credited in the Middle Ages with kind of preparing the way for the Christianization of Norway under Saint Olaf in 1015. He's also credited with being one of the main driving forces for the Christianization of Iceland, in that the missionary Thangbrander and some of these other missionaries came to Iceland on Olafur Tryggvason's orders to try and persuade them all to become Christian. It worked in the end, just took a while. But anyway, back to the story. Nornagester is in Sigurd's company at this big battle, and on the opposing side is this guy called Starkather, who appears in a whole bunch of stories as well, but Starkather is this supposedly like six-armed, descended from trolls, generally just bad news. He's actually the hero in his stories. He was cursed by Odin to live for 3 human lifetimes, but in each one to commit a terrible sin, which is just an absolute jerk move by Odin. So, shoutouts to Odin for being a terrible, terrible person. But we have in the story Starkather is trashing pretty much everyone else on the field, and then Sigurd goes out to meet him and is like, you know what, I got this. He does got this. He ends up knocking out one of Starkather's molars, and Starkather leaves the field in great pain. So, both of those guys, in the modern conscience, would definitely qualify as giants. He did not, it's not quite the same as Heracles, but it is definitely in that vein of great tragedy. I think the first time he swore allegiance to a king and then wound up killing that king, but that king was not a good person, so still it counts as a grave sin, but not as grave a sin. Another one was killing his foster brother, or sworn brother, actually, not foster brother. So, Still very much just disastrously breaking social ties. But that's fine. And here that we get to see Madeira be cute. Also, this music, as with all music in FE4, is just a complete bop. Good music. Now, Sigurd's gonna keep doing Sigurd things and get another kill on that Silver Sword. I would like the Silver Sword to have 50 kills by the end of the first generation, but I'm not going to push too hard on that because I do like other people getting to play the game. Oh yeah, especially once it gets to the Brave Lance, Finn is a god. And Sigurd is wholesome. Sigurd is so wholesome in this game. Like, quite literally, remember, Granvale is at war with Isaac here. And yet, Sigurd is like, you are a kid, you're the Prince of Isaac, but you're still just a kid. And so sets aside the fact that they are literally at war at the moment with Isaac, and just make sure Shannon is okay. And yeah, while Sigurd's story and is spoiled repeatedly throughout the exact details of his end are not clear, but like a good Norse story, they tell you it's going to end badly long before it actually does end. And so, like, we know, even from the prologue, that it's going to end in calamity. So, and yet, in the second generation, we see how Sigurd's kindness here ends up paying off down the line. So, and those kind of talk about the merits of being kind and being honorable as a knight, fulfilling this idealized chivalric duty that's present in medieval romance correctly. That ends up paying off dividends and ends up, I think, the game argues being both a materially and emotionally worthwhile thing to do, even though it is not an easy ask. Now, we badly need to get to Aira, though unfortunately, that's not going to be... Oh, great. She's going to just start running. No, she still is going to attack. God damn it. Could you not, Aira? I'm glad that Dew is fast enough to just eat that damage, though. Or to not get doubled, because that would be extremely bad. And now we have, in contrast to Sigurd and to Eldigan's honor, we have a completely dishonorable dude here. There's Herheim. Aira's AI is special. We're going to need to make her not be an AI as quickly as possible. Yep, this is a lot of dudes. Luckily, we have Arden there, and he can tank a hit if things go very badly. But for the most part, we don't have to worry about them. Eldigan's got us covered. Now, I will admit, I am still flabbergasted we made it out of this alive. But let's take a look at Herheim and Elliot here. Herheim looks to me like another Norse corruption. Hein being Heim, or world. Jesus. That is so unlucky. But he's in the same class as Kuan, so he can only use lances, but he's got better lances than Kuan does right now. But yeah, I don't know exactly what the translation for Herrhain should be. It's definitely like a German-looking thing, but I think it is also a Norse corruption, but as to what the first element is supposed to be, I don't know. Elliot, however, is a Hebraic name, I believe. But he is kind of a chump. He has no holy blood to speak of. His stats aren't very good. I mean, Sigurd completely trashes this guy. Hell, Lex trashes this guy. All of his units are not super scary around him, but we're just not even going to worry about them. In the meantime, Sigurd here, hopefully. We're actually going to equip the Iron Lance so that he does not double Era. I would appreciate if you can check on that. Yeah, that would do me a big favor. Now, how's everyone doing on HP? Really bloody badly. I want to get that return step so we can start doing return spam, but I also need to make sure I'm healing my people. In the meantime here, let's see if... no, I don't think any of these guys are quite prepared to go in on their own and try and deal with more arena shenanigans. Finn might be able to, but Finn's at a bad spot in the arena. Let's see, he's at arena level 4. He might be able to. We can give it a go. Doesn't really cost me anything. Hopefully this goes well. So we have Tiburon. He still doubles, but his hit rate's way lower now. So, we may actually be okay. Awesome! Isn't the arena fun? So many of these guys are scary. Luckily, he gets fully healed because he beat the arena. And we'll go another round then, since we did it, and... this guy, I mean, is going to hit hard, but also is not that scary. Hopefully. Nope, this is actually not a good situation to be in unless if he misses... Cool, he missed, so we... Nope. He needs to miss one more time, which is not likely. Good times. But... Finn does not die from this, unlike in basically every other game, where that can just be lethal. So we can actually back off, and Etlin can heal him, and then he'll be in perfect condition for a miracle. Nadir is going to run away from Era, and Dew is going to run away from Era. Though he can't get away. I can at least run towards Sigurd, and then we can go from there. Awesome. That makes sense. I mean, I doubt we'll get a proper official localization until the JoJo remake comes out. Which is not sounding super likely to be anytime soon. Which is a shame. I definitely wish it was soon, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, it's a minor... I'm not even sure if he's a minor duke from a single part of a single chapter. It's not like he's even fits into any of the character archetypes like Eldigan does. He's just there. So I'm not super worried about the lack of translation. But the Japanese should roughly end up sounding like Herrhain, which, again, Norse-ish name. I don't know that if it means anything specific. So, we're going to keep pushing forward. Unfortunately, Aideen is so far away from the team now because she had to keep running away. So we may actually take some time to reset once we get this village. And hopefully now my luck does not fail me. My luck did not fail me. We're also going to immediately have Aero just trash the arena because it's going to be fast. And Herrheim. And we have here Eldian's sister Lachesis. I'm surprised that the Project Naga translation did not fix this, given that this is released after Heroes, so we have an official translation. But Lachesis being the name of one of the Furies in Greek myth, so another reference, and being one of the Furies does imply tragedy, but generally I think tells us very little about the unit by just her name. Yeah, I liked some small quality of life things, but it would be so easy to break it wide open. Which would be not good. Isn't it 2016? Yeah, I guess that still is before Heroes, isn't it? Just. Yeah. So here we see, basically, we can see chivalry on display here. Eldian, even though he is himself a king, he is the king of Nordion and not the Duke of Nordion. Takes that oath of fealty and the lands granted to him, even though they're also hereditary lands. Like, his father was the king of Nordion before him, going back a century to Hazel's youngest daughter's marriage into House Nordion. So this is a hereditary land that is repeatedly granted in fee by the King of Augustria. Eldingen takes that extremely seriously, while Elliot, despite being in exactly the same situation, is far more like most historical dukes, especially the Duke of Aquitaine, going throughout history, and, well, arguably the Duke of Normandy, though that's the King of England as well. So, very much acting on his own unless compelled by some other reason to pay attention to what the king off somewhere else in Augustria says. Yeah. So, Eldian is very much focusing on the common people. And yeah. They're going to spend all their time trying to beat up House Nordion. But Nordian's so much better than them, but it's going to be kinda disgusting. I'd be shocked if even a single Cross Knight dies. Because these guys are just completely murderous. One thing that I guess is very relevant here, whereas we're watching all this carnage take place, and I'm not going to speed through it because I don't want to just fast forward. But one thing that's relevant I get to talk about is how very much lower the casualties of medieval warfare actually were than they are portrayed in pretty much all media, from Netflix's Witcher through Lord of the Rings through this. Pretty much everywhere, they are much more devastating than they should be. Hi Leander, glad you can join us. I'm going to be going a lot playing this for quite a while longer. We're only about a third of the way through this chapter, and if I have energy, I want to get into chapter 2 this stream. But yeah, it's pretty tragic watching these guys just all suicide. But, yeah, casualties of medieval warfare were actually extremely low. Not nothing, but especially in something like this, where it's entirely cavalry engagements and entirely knights. There's a case where that's weird that that's not working. I do have auto mod and the bots in, so it should actually show uptime. But I've been going for an hour and 40 minutes. I'll get it in after the stream. I'll just let you know though, it's been in about an hour and 42 is just crossed. So yeah, there's a case in the 100 Years' War, I believe? No, earlier than that. I don't remember exactly what the dating is. I saw this on, actually, Reddit's Ask Historians, which is a fantastic community of things. Of historians doing public outreach work, and I highly recommend them. But in this account, the King of England and the King of France kind of just, I mean, they were at war, but they accidentally wandered next to each other, just going around trying to find good places for engagement. They just both went to the same place, completely on accident, and so it was, instead of having all of their soldiers and infantry and pitched knights, they actually wound up running into each other with only knights. In that battle, they did go to battle because screw it, it's a great opportunity. But in that battle, there were 3 casualties. In a group of several hundred combatants running into each other, there were only 3 casualties, which is completely insane. It's just, that was not something that was done among nobility, and in general. The goal is to beat the enemy army, not to kill everything and everyone. So, instead, what would happen is you would defeat someone, you'd tire them out, because the armor is heavy, wielding a sword is tiring. You'd wear them out, you'd capture them, and then you'd take their armor and their horse, and then they just can't walk off the battlefield. And you'll just be like, yeah, you don't kill that person, he's done. And then at the end, you get in contact with their family, and then you ransom them. And it would be a good way to help pay for the cost of upkeep of your equipment. And if you're lucky, you may even turn a profit on war, but that was not always or even often the case. So, casualty rates among the peasants are higher due to just the lack of armor and lack of good equipment, but even then, you're not looking at very high casualties. As much as romance tends to dramatize it, and so fell this person, and so fell this person, and so fell that person, a really bloody battle is going to have 100 deaths in it. And yeah, so we now hear that Era is the daughter of the King of Isaac, and Shannon is the, well, now Crown Prince because and about to become King, since the King died and the Crown Prince is about to die. And Granvale. Oh yeah, in pretty much all media that has you playing some form of the Middle Ages, we'll see it over and over and over and over and over again. Uh, Battles are to the death, and everyone dies, and that's just how it is. Which is tragic, and certainly for those who do die in battle, it is really kind of quite heartbreaking, and a huge burden on their families. Well, they were paying compensation for deaths was a duty in war. But yeah, unless if you're playing Fates, where somehow Corin magically fails to kill anybody, this is kind of an inevitable result of the adaptation. It also, I think, makes for better television if it's less sportive and more gory. Certainly with modern sensibilities. So we have here Aira. Aira, I mean, we showed her a little bit. She's beefy. She's fast. She's strong. If we get this iron blade off her, uh, then she's going to double literally everything on the map. So she's going to be fine. She can talk to Kuin, though Kuin can't actually make it, so he's low on HP. We'll have him back up. She's an amazing combat unit. If only she could make it to combat. Ever. She has better move than Azel, but and better move than Arden, but that's not really a high bar. Unfortunately, cavalry is so oppressive in this game. This is a good question. Good lore. Okay, here we have a king. This is, I think, our first mention of the king. The King Marinan. This is another Irish name, going with our hodgepodge of mostly Norse and Celtic names. This is Manannán na Cléir in Irish. He's a god king of the sea in Irish folklore. He appears in Welsh and is actually the namesake of the Isle of Man. It's not Isle of a person, it's the Isle of McNannon. And I actually don't know what Miracle. Let's see if we can get some information there. I didn't find anything, but let me look that up really quick. Oh, he doesn't. He does not even have a wiki entry to see if there's any starting points. This is exciting. I do love when main characters don't actually end up appearing. There he is. Yeah, I have basically nothing here. Incredible. Oh, okay. So the Fire Emblem wiki says, and I actually buy that, it's MacLear. Miracle being a chain of corruption of MacLear. And it isn't exactly right, but yeah, that's because Kaga's brilliant. Just does not care about balance one tiny shred, and instead actually focuses on themes and world building, which I think is generally a better place to put your evidence, or a better place to put your resources in a small project like this than trying to make it perfectly balanced. But yeah, so the wiki claims it's MacLear. I'm not completely persuaded on that. It's possible, but there's several sound changes that would need to happen in order to corrupt that the right way. It would also make sense that Mananan and then his son is McClear, kind of continuing that reference. I would be in flavor for Kaga, but I'm not totally convinced on that. Okay, so Revo. Yeah. Okay, Myths and Legends. This is definitely not out of my expertise. Monasteries are usually not isolated, actually. The idea, most, by the High Middle Ages, so by the 12th and 13th century, they are very much looking at having monasteries in towns, in some cases multiple monasteries within a single town, or cloisters, or whatever other name you want to use with them. They it's very much a case where they could be isolated depending on the rule that they're following, but by and large they're actually fairly centralized, and if they didn't start out as a cultural, like local center for markets and stuff, they usually became that way. You have to actually try to find monasteries that are truly isolated and out of the way. Many monasteries would be outside of the walls of a city, but they'd be within a day's travel of it. So, not too far away either. And I'm looking at both of them, goth trips, though I definitely don't, and I definitely do try to avoid the Wikia, and if the Wikia and the fandom wiki contradict each other, I will always prefer the fandom wiki. The etymology it gives here is in the fandom wiki, so that's cool. But even then, I don't trust it. Some of their etymologies look really speculative, but I don't really have better information in many times, so we're gonna keep hoping. So this should get him up to 19, which means we're actually gonna throw him into the arena again, because he'll get hit for 14, which will give him plus like 50 avoid or something. Miracle is busted in this game. I just don't want to try too much. We're not going to spend too much time arena grinding. Oh, he actually gets hit for 21. Never mind, he just dies from this. Unless I get very lucky, he just, insta-dies. Unlucky. I missed math. Sadly, I need to get him a little bit higher on that than I can actually do right now. So we won't worry about it. We will pick up the rest of the arena later. Ah, crap. And I need to give someone this village. I may have Duke come and pick it up at the end, just so that I don't need to worry about it. And I'm going to try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be able to move 7 on the road. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, dang. Dude's not going to make it, so I'm not even going to bother worrying too much about that. I'm just going to push in. I did do the Fin Fun conversation already, yes. I did that right on the very first turn of the chapter, because those are pretty based stats. Also, let's talk about Elegant, since we can finally see him. he's our next holy weapon user. We saw Arvis in the prologue. Now we get to see Eldian. That is, well, 30 might, grants crit, gives plus 20 skill, plus 10 resistance. This weapon is scary. There's not a whole lot that's going to be able to take him out, except for the fact that he doesn't have 2 range. So we're going to, when we have to eventually fight him, spoilers, unfortunately, we will end up just kind of burning him down at range. Azel's going to be actually pretty key to this, as they are Quan and Finn. He's just so tanky. He is the major user of Hazel Holy Blood, so he's the direct descendant of the Black Knight Hazel. This, we actually have 2 to talk about, the other 2 sword users. We saw Baldur in the last stream. Now, with Ada we have minor Oda Blood, and with Eldian we have major Hazel Blood. So we'll talk about Hazel first. This is a made-up name as far as I can find. The fandom wiki speculates that, based on the weapon, that this is supposed to be a reference to the Norse god Höður, the killer of Baldur. However, the reason for that is that Mistletoe is quite literally, Mistlitauin is the Icelandic word for mistletoe. So a sword named Mistletoe is, well, probably a reference to a mistletoe dart killing Baldur. However, obviously, this weapon is not the reason the arrow Baldur dies, and I don't think it's ever said in lore that Hazel kills the Crusader Baldur. Goth Trips, you seem to know more about this game than I do, so if I am wrong and I missed that somewhere, do let me know, but it's my understanding that Hazel and Baldur did not end up killing each other, so it's a very thin reference. I'm far more persuaded that this is either so far corrupted as to be unidentifiable, or is not itself a real word, but one that was just made up for the game. Awesome. The Odo one is the one where I think the desire to just take names actually got in the way, because the weapon for, well, Odo is, there's 2 possibilities for what that is. It could be the Norse name Uttur, which is entirely possible. It could also be the name of the god Other, who is Freyja's husband, originally. So yeah, if it's Od, then it's most likely Norse Oev, so Other. The R is just a nominative ending that usually gets cut. So yeah, that would be Freyja's husband, who often travels and goes on conflict, and when he leaves, Freyja weeps, tears made out of red gold. The divine weapon for Odo is the Balmung. Now this is why I say that this is a case where just taking names, I think, got in the way of doing more thematic parallels, because Balmung is the name of Siegfried's sword in the Nibelungenlied, the 13th century Old High German poem that tells mostly the same story as Volsunga Saga. So this would have been a case where, maybe they could have used, given that to Sigurd. So that Sigurd is using his German counterpart's sword. Would be a really just nice case of parallels and cross-referencing. That guy is suicidal, holy crap. Of all these cross-references, and it would have been really, I think, quite cool. Not a big deal, but is a case where not every... Well, I talk a lot about how these seem to be pretty well considered in a lot of cases, and we'll see that in a moment when we meet Deirdre. However, it is not in every case that these are well considered. Then now we get to watch the Cross Knights completely decimate Elliot's forces. Elliot's a little bit scary to these guys, but really not that much. Yeah. Something that's cool is that each kind of brigade of... well, they use this translation of knights for Ritter as their main source of units. And with that, they're actually... Let me make sure. Yeah, there's no way he's going to reach on time, so we're just going to kill this guy in order to save the village, because I don't care about the funds rank. And while I know it's technically better to just let the village burn down, yep, I did know that, and I did already comment on that, because that is a very oblique Norse reference. So, it's good news. Yep, the Project Naga translation still does some weird things. Okay. I have been getting so many defense level ups this time, and it's crazy. I would prefer strength and speed, because the best defense is killing everyone. That's annoying. I would have liked Lex to be able to make that. Oh well. Nice gets the kill then. And yeah, the where was I? The Ritter. That is the actual German term for a company, or for, well, it literally translates to knights, but it's good German translation. Let's make sure I have no other talk on this. We have a few others. We have Sigurd talking to Aideen, Aideen talking to Ethlin, Dee talking to Aideen. Cool. Oh yeah. I mean, hopefully what we see is that the rumors that Fire Emblem YouTuber Mengs has been spreading that it's now going to be a Tellius remake next, not a Yggdrasil remake, are wrong, because I would love an official, even if it's just polishing up the graphics and presentation and adding a little bit more dialogue and change the gameplay not at all, I would be okay with that. So yeah, she just got Warp, which is awesome. Warp has 10 uses in this game. Aideen is the only one who can use it, Ethlin cannot. But that lets you send anyone to any castle that you control. You cannot just send anyone anywhere, unfortunately, but it is a good way to kind of make sure that you can send people to your castles, and it gives like 85 experience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should be to that. And we're going to take a little bit of time here to kind of regroup, because obviously my guys are not that strong, and I don't want to go in on Verdane too hard here, because everyone's scary. Yeah, I hope they just kind of keep going in order, because they've been doing a pretty good job of going Archnea, 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 and then they want to go in and hopefully do Yggdrasil. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll do it as 2 games, because Thracia is just incompatible with genealogy. But... Oof, why did I do that? I need to heal someone this time. Well. We're kind of regrouping everyone. Where did I send Aira? Send Aira down here. Okay. Yeah, it is a really dark period in terms of how the franchise did, but it's also a really good period in terms of how well liked the characters are. Because Ike is probably the most popular lord. Certainly, eh, but yeah, I mean, they sold awfully, which is a shame because they're good games. They're really good. I really like Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, but they're not. They did not sell well. Anyway, we are gonna keep pushing through here, through all these regular woods, into the Spirit Forest, here, and then hopefully do better. We've got basically a free village here. I don't think anyone's gonna come in. Three Houses is selling insanely well. It's doing completely gangbusters, which is really happy news. I don't have a Switch, so I'm not able to play it, but I'm incredibly happy that it's doing well. You know, while we have the chance, we'll send Aira forward so she can actually get kills in the game instead of just in the arena, though. Okay, we do that, we do that. We can send Dio forward. Is there a reason to give money to Azazel? No, there is not. God, foot units slow me up so much here. It's sad. I want to like foot units so often, but it's so hard to use them in this game. And yeah, I mean, I also really like Radiant Dawn. The presentation on Radiant Dawn is cool. The world building is incredibly jank. We may do them at some point, but not in any huge rush to get to those games. Okay, we've got now Sandama. This is our first mention of the Church of Loftyr and dark, all sorts of dark magic. Hey, that's spoilers. Cool. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a reference to something. To be honest, Sandama sounds like it could be, but it's also one of those big throwaway references. Since obviously he appears just as a boss, way up in the corner up here, and is mostly there for you to dunk on. Not really a big deal. So we're just gonna keep pushing forward. Noish has a lot of money right now, so we'll actually heal him up, and he can't reach the church. Never mind then. We're not gonna heal him up in the church, because he can't reach. And we keep going. Not a whole lot going on right now. This is the part of FE4 I actually dislike, though it's... Loftus is the old translation, I believe. I thought the official one did turn out to be Loftyr. But in either case, it's Japanese for the same thing, and the actual name of the Norse god that it is referencing is Loftyr. So I'm going to call him Loftyr, even if that's not technically correct. Oh boy, I didn't lag so far behind. But yeah, we'll meet him again when we meet Manfroy in a moment. But Loftyr is in this game is meant to actually be Loki, and I believe developer interviews have confirmed that they actually were planning on naming him Loki, and then they changed their mind. But all the dark magic obviously references Loki. Okay, so we've got a ranged weapon there. Do we have anyone with range? Yeah, mid-air. Cool. Hi, Ashka. Glad you can join us. Cool. So Madeira's going to just stand here and eat an arrow to the face. Bah. But, I mean, I kind of understand why intelligence systems would want to change their localization. If they... I barely play heroes. Evelyn, you could get a good level up sometimes. But I kind of understand why, because using an actual deity's name is a bit of a odd thing to do. Not bad by any means, but odd. And could potentially lead to some hard feelings from people who like Loki going, oh no, but Loki's not actually evil. Yeah, Lobtier sounds better. I totally agree. It helps that it's an actual language. It's the word in an actual language, not made up funny talk. But I can understand like why they maybe wouldn't want that. If they're having their fictional Earth Dragon Dark God entity, maybe having that not be actually just Loki. Maybe. As I mentioned in the last stream, and it's worth saying again, Loftyr is usually interpreted as Loki, but that's not a confirmed, definite thing. Loftyr appears in the Norse poem Völuspá as one of the three gods who give humans life, alongside Heinir and Odin. Loki is more complicated than just being straight out evil. He certainly is not good. Let's be very clear, in none of the medieval tradition would we say that Loki is anything that passes for good. However, he's not usually as bad, or as obviously bad, as later depictions made him out to be. Even by the prose Edda, Snorri is pretty confident that Loki is just straight up evil, giving him such epithets as Father of Lies, Betrayer of Gods and Men, and other such definitely praiseworthy things. So, however, so for a long time I should say, it was believed, or Loki was interpreted as pretty straightforwardly evil. Which, fair enough, there's not... Loki does not do a whole lot to disprove that claim. Really, they actually localized him as Camus. You're joking, right? Please? Please tell me you're joking. But yeah, it's French. It's making a very obviously Norse, or sorry, very obviously Latin word sound more French, but not changing the phonology to be French in any meaningful way. Huh. Those are slightly high hair rates. Maybe I don't run like a lunatic with Era. Cool. Era saw combat. She's good, guys. Oh boy, that is rough. I I'm not a fan of that. But I mean, Camus. Well, I guess it depends. If they are, if Camus is meant to be a reference to the French postmodern philosopher, uh, then that would be the correct way to pronounce it. Like that would just be objectively correct. That seems really kind of sad, and I don't. Well, Kaga is clearly familiar with a lot of material. I don't know if I would count that as something he's likely to be familiar with, but it is possible because that is a name in French that has that form. I have no idea. I really think that would be a case of taking the name because Kaga thought it sounded cool. If that is what he did with Albert Camus, that's almost certainly the extent of the thought process of that name sounds cool. Certainly, as far as I am aware, I would not say that Camus in the game has any sort of reference to the philosopher. Certainly nothing. Oh gosh. That has 6 uses. That's bad. Good thing I caught that, otherwise I would have been in trouble. But yeah. Sometimes it does be like that, where they, okay, but now people are pronouncing that Siryu. I've heard that, which is also a terrible pronunciation. Because Sirius is, a is the pet dog of Orion, so is very much already a historically or mythologically excellent person. There we go. It is getting dark, and I only just noticed that. So, here we go. Can these guys reach anyone in particular? No. 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 Awesome. And Noish can fill out the bottom here to keep Flex from getting too badly ganked. So we have our formation. They came at us with their formation, but their formation is worse, so we win. And I'm going to give this village to Arden for, obvious reason. Oh, sorry. That was me realizing it got dark and turning on the lights. Sirius is the name of Orion's pet dog in Greek myth, Orion being the only, or one of the only, allies of Artemis to be male. And different versions of the story have different facts or different ways that he died. But in either case, he either died due to Apollo sending Scorpio after him, or died because Apollo tricked Artemis into shooting. But in either case, they got him and his hunting dog got placed in the sky as stars. So Sirius, of course, is now also the brightest star visible to the naked eye from Earth. It's not the brightest objectively, but it is close and it is pretty bright, which makes it appear very bright. For those of us in Europe, as long as it's less cloudy than it is here, it should be just about visible. If you basically just take the stars of Orion's belt and keep going, then you end up right on top of Sirius. But since that's a Greek word, I guess would be probably something like Sirios in modern Greek. Pronouncing it with a French pronunciation is quite silly. Hey, cool, that was an Astroproc. Aira sometimes just kills everything, which makes her really good at the arena, because of course I can always just spam her in the arena until she procs Astra, and then, unlike the modern incarnation of Astra, doing that is a guaranteed kill, because it's 5 hits at full strength. Can he move to there? Yes, he can. I don't know off the top of my head. I do not have an encyclopedia of folklore on me, but I will look that up soon. We can look it up during the cutscenes playing after I kill Gandalf, because I don't want to pause playing the game for too long, since it's already 2.5 hours. Oh yes. That absolute indisputable proof. He wanted nothing more than to make a perfectly balanced game. And here we go. Let's see if we can get anyone else kills. Oh, I'm gonna have Azel kill this guy. Should actually work. Does he double? Fire has 12 weight. That's -1. That is 0. So Azel is 1 speed short of doubling, so I guess we have Aira help out, because Aira should have no problem getting up to promotion. Because she can clear every arena in every chapter that she's in the game. Other people are going to have a little bit more trouble doing that. Oh, I genuinely love this gameplay. I love this game and the gameplay, and I think it is genuinely really, really good. And does a lot of very interesting things. But whatever Kaga says, it's very much the case that his concern is thematics, not game balance. Which is a perfectly valid choice. Like, I don't want to ever give the impression that I think that is the wrong choice. In fact, I think we need more games that approach the Middle Ages and what they are trying to do as thoughtfully as how Kaga does. because we'll get to her in just a moment, but once we're introduced to our last main character of the main arc of the game, how do you do? Okay. Once we're introduced to Deirdre, I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, hers is probably the clearest instance where the borrowing of the name is not just the name, but of the entire damn character arc gets borrowed. And I think that's a largely important and good thing, and it's these interactions of some very thoughtfully stolen characters is really thought, because the main three are Arvis, Sigurd, and Deirdre, and they each basically wholesale borrow a character story from the folklore that they are looking at. And so it borrows them wholesale, but by doing that, and then putting them in conjunction with each other, it ends up being a really thematically appropriate and complicated, but incredibly effective manipulation of a medieval epic. So, like, it's incredibly good. It's so thoughtfully done, and balancing the game in a really awkward way around that, I don't care about that. The game is still fun. This game is still really fun. And so I'm not super picky on the whole idea that, oh yes, it must be perfectly balanced so that every unit is perfectly usable. Perfectly usable units, who will all be viable no matter how you wish to play. But no. The game is clearly built to be played in a very certain way. And these narrative elements end up showing that, and then the gameplay is built to exist in the same milieu as the narrative does. And that means it's not always balanced, because history was not balanced. There were dominant strategies and dominant interactions. That's a very good point. That there is balance in ways that are not all weapons are equally usable. So, you receive wind before you receive thunder. Or, rather, I should say, no, that is right. Because we get Leywin, we get Leywin next chapter. I think? No, is it in chapter 3 that we get Leywin? One of those two. No, it is next chapter, because we've got all of the... Is it? That would make sense then, that if it's right before you get Leywin, and then Leywin just shows up and makes Azel fairly irrelevant. Yeah, but you get Telchiu so late. But again, Telchiu's busted, so not really the end of the world. Okay, what I want to do is to hopefully have Dew survive a round of combat with Gandalf so I can steal all his money. Oh, you could attack. That would go poorly. Nadir, can you attack Gandalf? That would be helpful. Yeah. here we go. So he'll definitely double. Every unit brings something to the table, yeah, but that something's not always super worthwhile. Arden in particular comes to mind. He's mostly useful for getting the pursuit band, and past that, like, there's no obvious reason to ever use him. He has no skills. He's in the best weapon type, but he has no move, no skills. Takes. Yep, but I mean, I don't know that I would say that he gets an item is really the best indication of how great a unit can be. Arden doesn't have advantage. Lex has advantage. I'm pretty sure. Huh. Good times. Okay then. That's handy, but like he still sucks. He still is an atrocious unit. Just because I mean honestly, going first is fine if you are getting kills. I think it's hard to really say that Arden is gonna be really fucking really guy. Oh yeah, let's take a look at Gandalf. He has no skills. He has a skill ring, so he's slightly more accurate, but he's got a hand axe, so whatever. He has no holy blood at all, so he's pretty much just trash. He hits kinda hard. So he does. Yep. So Kinbei here is just marauding the villagers for oppressive levels of tax. This does happen historically all the time. The various kings would just end up going in and just trying to grab resources and oppressively end up taxing their units. Obviously, that's where something like Robin Hood legends come from. That's also where you see like peasant uprisings show up pretty regularly in England near the end of the time, and that's because there was too aggressive things. Yeah, I mean the main reason why I like Arden at all is that he fits into the Chalfie Knights. The Chalfie Knights are all in a narrative that we will be seeing. I'll be summarizing in more detail in a small moment. But as soon as we get to Deirdre, I'm going to summarize it because it's the narrative she appears in. We're such a good level, Nish. But since the narrative she appears in also features 3 characters named Noish, Ardan, and Ainla. I wish Ainla was how they actually localized Alec, because I think that's what it's supposed to be, instead of just being another Alexander. That's true. If there would be no slow memes if there was not an Arden. Now, does Dude survive? Dude does survive. We're gonna steal his lunch money. And we may as well warp someone back already, because there's no... I don't want to be waiting on warp spam. No. Maybe not, because I can always warp spam this chapter instead of sending someone all the way back to Genoa. I wish Dude was better at the whole beating someone up to steal their lunch money. but he does his job well enough, so no complaints. I'm gonna try to avoid abusing this guy too hard because it would be kind of pointless. Really do. Yeah, but yeah, that is exactly why I gave Ideen the goal I did, because warp is expensive, and also, I mean, I partly gave it to her so that way, if things went really badly, I didn't just lose all that money. But yeah, at least for this first time, doing the warp spam to get her up to being a combat unit fast is just, it's good enough. It's probably not the best use of the money, but I'm also not close to Paragon Ring or any of the things that are going to eat through my army's money. So giving money to someone who can't use the arena is not a bad shout. Oh wait, doesn't Evelyn have a conversation with Ideen? No, Ideen has a conversation with Evelyn. Important distinction. Oh yeah, it's like actually super disappointing compared to. Oh no, he better attacked Dio instead of Azel. Good. Hopefully Dio does better now. Good. Dio did the thing. Oh yeah, I mean compared to like FE3 or FE5, ladies and gentlemen, Dio. Compared to FE3 and FE5, this warp staff is not good. But it fills a really important niche, so I'm not at all complaining about it. Okay, so that would be 15. If he hits one of those, then I can give Aira the kill, which would be pretty cool. Sigurd does not need more kills right now. So... But also, actually, I would prefer to give it to Azel over... maybe we see if Flex hits. If Flex hits, then we have more options. Oof, yeah, if you're used to Shadow Dragon Warp Staff, then yeah, this is a change and a half. I know, it's actually, like, horribly sad. Poor guy got... Luckily he's not meant to do good in combat anyway. I'll probably end up, like, giving him the Sleep Sword if I get the chance. 15, good. That means he has to hit one of these. Yeah, he's just stealing people's lunch money, so I'm not too worried. Though, this is a little bit of a waste, because the skill ring doesn't need to go on Azel. He doesn't care, Flex would get far more use from it. But, I'm okay with that. I am still very much okay with him. Yeah, I mean, being in the best weapon type in the game very much helps him actually get things. So I'll cap this already so we can start doing item management, because I need to do a lot of that. Hey look, it's Deirdre. Sigurd continues to be pretty good, though this guy clearly has no idea how the game works, because paladins are a different class. Yep, so this guy just leaves. And Deirdre, well, now's a good time to summarize the actual story. Let me grab the book right here. So, this story is part of the heroic cycle of Irish legends called the, I'm not going to try the Old Irish too hard, but the Lingers Mac Noislin, the exile of the sons of Oislew. So, Deirdre is the son of the storyteller of the Irish King Conchobar, Fedlimid Dal. It is weapon. It's B lances, A swords. Because I know obviously Sigurd gets a huge boost due to Balder Blood, but I believe it's A lances, B swords on the base knife board. Anyway, yeah, she's prophesied. Deirdre is prophesied to be incredibly beautiful, but that disaster will follow her. Everyone else says, let me just type in what book I'm using for this. The name of the poem, I'll type in the name of the poem as well here. So, the book I'm using is an introduction to early Irish literature by Maureen Nabroken, which is spelled really hard. Broken. And then the name of the poem is... Actually, I think it's prose, but regardless, the name of the story is... Wonders Mac Nice. So, now that we're back to that, sorry for the music going quiet. Conchobar orders that she be kept secretly in the forest until she is old enough to marry him. But everyone else is like, no, you gotta kill her. Like, prophecies are bad news. Prophecies are super bad news. So then, her father, she gets fostered with... Where is it? It's not even said. But the only one able to visit her is the female poet and satirist Leberham. So then when she's fairly old, or old enough, she says that she wishes she could be a man with white skin, black hair, and red lips, so the color of a raven eating a deer in winter. And then then Leberham says that it's Noish, son of Eastlew, and that man is nearby. So they meet, they fall in love, and they have 2 kids. But then Noish originally is of the opinion that maybe going against Conchobar is a bad idea, but Deirdre persuades him otherwise via mockery. So then Noish and his 2 brothers Aenel and Arden flee from Conchobar and end up in Scotland. Conchobar gets persuaded to let them return, and Fergus MacRoch ends up being their guarantor for that. But when they get back, Fergus is separated from the rest of them. Noish and Arden and Aenla are killed, and Deirdre is brought in captivity to Conchobar. So she is forced to stay with him for a year, and then she's incredibly unhappy during that entire time. Eventually, Conchobar gets tired of this and tries to force her to marry the man who killed Noish. Where is it? Elgin McDurtnacht. Deirdre decides that rather than do that, she'd rather not live, and throws herself from her chariot and splits her head open and dies. Fergus, incensed that he was abused to be a false guarantor, ends up defecting from Ulster and ends up participating in the Great Cattle Raid that is the longest prose heroic narrative of Irish legend. It's a pretty wild story and pretty tragic, but obviously we have a young woman who has an ill prophecy on her and is doomed to marry or ends up being forced into a marriage she does not want via force/magic. Conga clearly knew the narrative of the historical Deirdre when coming up with this. I don't think that's really in something that can be contested. He clearly knew of that. So this becomes a good time to talk about the main kind of interactions of the game. So we have three main characters, Sigurd, Deirdre, and Arvis. The main romance, the main tragedy of the first generation of genealogy of the Holy War focuses on these characters. Their interaction is the interaction of obviously three different legends. Volsunga Saga and the Sigurd cycle for Sigurd, the legend I just summarized for Deirdre, and the Norse poem Alvismal for Arvis. So we have the beautiful lady prophesied to cause disaster, meeting up against the perfect knight, who's so perfect that he's completely naive and can easily be manipulated. This is more Nibelungenlied than Volsunga Saga, but occurs in both cases. And so is forced into a bad end where he is killed by treachery. Meanwhile, Arvis is the one who desperately wants Deirdre, but ends up being manipulated by forces that are really much stronger than him while trying to do that. So, yeah, it's three intentional interactions based on three characters in Norse and Irish myth and legend, all interacting, forming a really compelling drama. It's not melodrama because, unlike melodrama, there is no will they, won't they. It is just straightforwardly a tragedy in the most heroic sense. This is perfectly appropriate for both Norse and Irish epic. In fact, the epic kind of relies on this tragedy. Obviously, Goth Trips, I think you weren't here last time, so you didn't hear. Arvis is a Japanese corruption of Alvis, All Wise, who's an elf/dwarf who asks for Thor's daughter in marriage, and knows a ton of cosmographic information, but ends up getting turned to stone because Thor tricks him into talking too long and the sun comes up and he turns to stone. So, bad luck on his end, but, I mean, perfectly well-intentioned, a genuine suitor, genuinely in love with truth, and generally very wise, knows a lot. gets tricked by forces that are really outside of his control, regardless of his intentions. Yep. So now, but I'm glad you're finding this interesting. That's kind of the goal of this, is to make it something interesting uh, to listen to, and hopefully, teach and hopefully explore some of the ways that stories and history of the past 2,000 years are still influencing so much of our media. In some ways very thoughtfully, some ways very unthoughtfully. And now Sandama just kills dark magic, yoinks Batter, and he dies. And now we meet Manfroy. Manfroy is the Archbishop of the Church of Wapis, which the structure of the Church of Wapis is a little bit unclear. Certainly, like, there are an Archbishop in charge of it. This, I think, well, there was a comment last time that maybe that this was that the Church of Naga was a representation of maybe what early Norse Christianity looked like. I think actually the Church of Locktier may represent that even better. Because there is a largely absent, largely distant archbishop that is functionally in charge of the whole thing, just like originally Hamburg Bremen, then Lund, and then Nidaros was in charge of Scandinavia. Well, Lund always was in charge of Denmark once it got established, but the Diocese of Nidaros, modern Trondheim, was in charge of Norway and Iceland. Oh, I'll interrupt myself a little bit here because we have a little name here. Sigyn's daughter. This is another indication of that Loki is meant to be Loki, and they understood it as Loki. Sigyn is the name of Loki's wife, who sat above his head and uh, held the cup of poison after he got bound with the entrails of Sigyn's sons. So, just another indication of that Kaga is aware of the interactions between these names and is emulating them. Yeah, Manfroy is pretty much absent and does a whole lot of nothing besides shadowy shenanigans, but he's not a strong part of the story by any means. But still, this kind of overwhelming influence in the background obviously bears a lot of representations of cults and like secret black magic. Exactly, that kids is how earthquakes happen. Uh, but yeah, so forcible incest is going to be a thing, but yikes. Yeah, I've not actually beaten Thracia. I'm in chapter 11 right now, I think? No. 14? One of those two. So I've not actually beaten Thracia. He has not appeared in Thracia yet, but hopefully I'll get there soon. But yeah, him being this kind of uh, archbishop that's distant and obviously has power, and when he says something, it ends up being obeyed, but largely doesn't have influence. Does, I think, reflect like the Archbishop of Nidaros's actual influence in Iceland most of the time. All the power was in the bishoprics of Skalholt and in Holar, but hmm, that's funny. The you need to look up the timeline again, because they may just have a contradiction in here that needs sorting. Manfroy just said centuries of exile in the desert. If I'm remembering the chronology correctly from the opening crawl of the game, that's not really possible. Where's the chronology? Oh, this is the bad wiki. There it is. Okay, so yeah, the Miracle of Darna was in 600 Granville year 632. The fall of the Lockjared Empire is Granville year 648. The Granville Army's expedition to Isaac at the start of this game is 757. So those centuries of a whole 110 years. That is something really weird about this game. That they, oh boy, we're already moving. Okay. All of these units, all of this ancient history and descendants upon generations and generations of things, it's like 3. This is almost within living memory. Yeah, the centuries might be a Project Naga thing, but it is genuinely something strange overall. It's far more in the scale of Norse epics, but it's actually occurring over a span of 4 or 5 generations. Hervadar Saga, Vadstyle Saga, which is not epic, but is still a founding narrative, Volsunda Saga, all take place over about 4 generations. So that is pretty standard, but there is kind of this perception of how long ago things happened, when this is like the great-grandfather. Like, we should have, like, written records of how this was. And I don't know, so, like, Bator, from his portrait, I would say he's probably, I don't know, 70 when he dies. So, his father may have been alive at the end of the Lockjared Empire. Certainly his grandfather was alive during the Lockjared Empire. So this is not really that long ago, and the fact that it's already falling apart so dramatically has always struck me as a kind of odd thing happening. Sorry, I should not do that. I should... Well, ring level 5. We'll see if Finn can make it. In either case, we do want to repair that. Don't need to repair the javelin yet. And we'll see if we can beat him. If we don't, it's not really the end of the world, but I would like to be able to. Nope, that's not going to go well. I have to dodge. Nope. Okay. And I can't heal him up quite far enough unless I warp him back to the beginning to let himself heal naturally. Which we may do. We may do that at the end. But I'm not going to worry too much about that. Ideen should... Oh yeah, and I mean, there's so much of this game to remember. I mean, obviously, I'm now at over 5 hours of playtime into the game, and I am halfway through Chapter 1. So, like, there's so much to remember. There's no, I don't know, statement that there's something weird or bad about this. Or about not remembering. We'll see if Madeir can do good. He may be able to. And if not, it's, again, not really the end of the world. Nope. Sorry, Anna, will literally never see you again. Okay. So you have a slim sword or a steel axe there. In either case, oh. Not a whole lot that's super important to be doing. I don't think he'll win, because that speed wing mage is going to screw him over. Yeah, there's no way he wins this. Evelyn's not even going to try, though. I do need to remember to actually get the return staff. Yeah. I completely forgot to do that again, which is no good. I think that's kind of inevitable. Games as media are actually... I'm always in a mixed bag on them in terms of telling a story on its own. I think this game is actually really, really good at it, but I don't know that that applies to games en masse at all. They're not terrible. They're by no means awful at telling stories, and there's some really, really compelling stories that get told in it. And even in big budget games, there's the act of performing something is really, really compelling. However, at the same time, okay, have a good night. Have a good night. At the same time, I am really not persuaded that necessarily the structured narratives made by designers in big quests, these big story arcs, will ever be more compelling than telling them and simply showing the gameplay and the emergent narratives that come out of that. That's something professionally that I'm currently actually trying to research, is just where emergent narrative in games ends up trying to show up, and how adaptation in that sphere works. The emergent gameplay in the discussion of games as things that are played more than stories that are told. I still don't have answers to that at this point, at all. Quite simply, there's... Ooh, nice adapt proc. It's very early stages of the research, but it's something I'm really interested in, because that does seem to be games' big strength, is telling really memorable stories through actually playing it. And watching cutscenes never seems to quite stick in people's minds in any conversation I've had. So, still teasing that out, still, part of what this project is trying to do for me is to try and figure out where all of that ties together. In the meantime, though, we've got more arena grinding to do. I'm gonna pick up the, I'm gonna pick up the hand axe for Lex, which will be super useful for him. And also, this chapter, he is going to get up to the Brave Axe, which is going to make him actually really good. And I don't need to worry too... never mind, I'm not even going to beat that until I have the Brave Sword. So, he's going to keep pushing in, and we're going to deal with all that later. Okay. Alec, I don't think will ever beat this next guy, but he badly needs to repair weaponry. Alec's really low on gold, so I think I'll wait until the very end to arena with him too. Then we have Noish, needs to repair things mostly. Because look at that high quality usage. That gets repaired instantly, which is a nice bit of balance, obviously anachronistic, but is genuinely nice balance. I think I'm going to, I'm going to just hope for a crit, so I may just spam through until I get one. So, fair warnings, just spam. More spam. Fair and balanced gameplay, right? Jesus. It hit something, you know. 46 to hit is not good, Noish, but, like, anything? Okay, this seems to be kind of not worthwhile. Oh, hey, he got the crit, and that didn't work. Oh, yeah, I mean, there's that cutscene, definitely stands out. But, this is way less likely to work. I'm gonna try to just get into one hit, but need some really good luck here to make any of this work. Okay, this is not compelling viewer for anyone to watch, so I'm going to give up on that and admit that Noish is not meant to get farther in the arena than that. However, Aira, I think, is actually going to pick up the Slim Sword, even though she doesn't need that at all. Oh, she has no money because Dew stole all her money. I mean, there's a few cutscenes that are really compelling in this one, but I think part of what makes those particular cutscenes compelling and is the specific lack of control. Obviously, I assume the one you're talking about is the one at the end of the generation. So, I definitely think a large part of the value is how little control you have. And so you help lead these people to really, to victory to victory to victory to victory, and then you lose control to get to its foregone end. Cool, I got an Astropock, we're good. So, by yeah, I would agree with that normally. I don't like going against this guy without. I do agree with that. I gave him the Steel Sword. I'll probably switch these two around next chapter. But right now, I need to get Aira through the arena. So I want to. And I've been getting pretty good speed blessing on. On Alex, so the Steel Sword he's reliably doubling. But yeah, I'll probably switch them around next chapter when everyone's a little bit healthier on money. Because right now, no one's healthy on money. Obviously, with Aira's money currently being on Dew. Oofed. That's no good. Will you look at this? What nonsense is this Aira? Yeah, I mean, that item management is super enjoyable. I'll probably try and do most of that off screen, uh, just because uh, the just arena grinding at the start of a chapter is not all that compelling, and I don't really have anything interesting to say about it. Unlike these other chapters, the actual maps, where there's always lots of things to talk about. But yeah, so the in-chapter ones here, obviously I'm keeping in, but for the most part... Ooh, these guys have the same move. Okay. I know, Aira is being completely redundant here with all of her procs. But you can see, obviously, I'm getting a lot of benefit from going on and doing this, because she went from no gold to suddenly having over 10,000, which puts her well on her way to the rest of it. So this is how Aira's supposed to work. Those were two actually genuinely useful Astro procs. And she gets crappy levels. She has Holy Blood, you know. She actually is able to do things some of the times theoretically. But no. So we're going to hope that Azel can get through one thing here. Because if he can get through only one more level in the arena, there's no way... Yeah, but she hasn't got an HP yet. Okay, yeah, he's not going to make that because he needs to dodge 2 hits in order to even get through. So that's not going to happen. No, that sounds right. The scroll in FE5 does the same thing, on only affecting HP and skill. So, yeah. I mean, he gets good if I can get him up to level 20, but my god, getting him up to level 20 is a rough trip. And I'm just going to fast forward through these, because this is not compelling. Jamka here is kind of scary because he's got the killer bow, and the killer bow is insane in this game. Because in a crit, 100 hit, and 3 weight is absolutely ludicrous. And he doubles all the time. Sadly, he has no horse, so he's never going to be great, but he's another one that makes a pretty good pairing for, what is it, Lester, if you pair him with Hydean. So, the killer bow is... I don't know if there's a way to justify that thing in terms of game balance. It's just busted. Now, staff, war.